great story. She created a charter school in Gwinnett County, all-girls school. Now she has all boys and all girls in DeKalb County. Anyway, he agreed to give them scholarships, donate food every month, and he's going to cut them a big check. I mean, that was a great kind of relationship. So that's what we typically do. That's how we engage and connect our members to opportunities. So we don't do chicken dinners. We put them in a room like this, keep decision-making room, and now we're going to be using LinkedIn to kind of more or less, this is Nina Gilbert, this is this person, they're working on this particular project, and it validates them. We go into a lot of companies also where corporations will tell us, well, Mike, we can't find any African Americans qualified to do X, Y, Z. Hence, we like the LinkedIn platform again because your qualifications stated. So we can refer them to LinkedIn as a solution. Now we have, and this is a big one, you guys. Now we have an opportunity. We have Google's there in a big way. So I got a presentation next week for Google, and Google is looking to engage African American businesses. Now we're not the type of organization to just take a check and take a check. I want to know. I want to be able to say, Google, this is what we need. You know, for example, Google likes a whole bunch of people in the room. But if I got 15 people who have access to large membership bases and large populations that are not necessarily tech savvy, i.e. my mayors, who need education, those individuals who may not have a smartphone, we see that a lot. So and I think he asked me the question, you know, well, why aren't more African Americans using their Google Accelerator product, in which they can actually profit from, you know, through our ad links. And so he said, we're not even in that game at all. How do we increase that? So those are some of the questions that he posed to me as Google. But, you know, to kind of keep it back focused, and then Twitter, last to understand how I don't have time to be tweeting all day. I just don't. I don't get it, you know. But I like it because I think I have not explored Twitter all the way, but one of the things I was thinking of is what would be of value to me. Not everybody telling me they're at dinner, this is going on, are you watching TV, da da da. Not that's noise to myself, that's noise to a lot of my members. But for me to be in a key event where issues are being discussed, like downtown at the Capitol, to create a Twitter feed, like, look, this is happening on this policy or this bill, you know, or me being able to tweet industry tips or industry specific information to my members. But you got to keep in mind, I got diverse members, right? Different sets. I'm still trying to figure out how do we leverage that platform of Twitter in an effective way. And then last but not least, what Ms. Google over here has been yelling at us about Google Plus. Now, if we're dealing with Google, you know, how do we use this particular platform? So for us as a chamber to understand it, how do we deliver and communicate the pros and cons of each of these different tools? How do our members use it effectively? How do we as a chamber use it as an opportunity to brand our members? We have every third Saturday orientation process. In our orientation process, every third Saturday you get to hear who we are, what we're about. We then have a session where we invite individuals like you in, who are either marketing experts, subject matter experts, technological experts. We call it Brand Me AMBCC, and they come in and pitch to our members about what they need to be aware of as businesses. So we're able to center and provide an orientation, but we need more diverse subject matter experts at the table to really put before them. And then we also, as an organization, just need to be solid in terms of how do we use these tools to really centralize all of these diverse businesses in one place. And as I said, we've started with the platform of the ambcc.us product, which I think is a good start. And we have now the capacity to do the grassroots of actually going, walking, find these businesses. But then when you get those businesses, here's the other challenge. There needs to be a solution of, well, Mike, I don't know how to do that. I need a go-to who can just at least get them set up. There's a cost challenge too. You know, if somebody's approached them saying, I can do a page for $1,000, but you actually can do a page for $100. But, you know, we got to find that happy medium of that 3-tier pricing where we need a cookie cutter solution to get the person online. That's what we're looking for with our members. So if they're going through an orientation process, they're getting engaged. Africa has one of our members on tape where he said, I don't do social media, because he had a certain opinion about social media. But now he's on social media, guess what? His business productivity has increased. More customers are finding him. So we can sell them on that part, but then it's the next step of where do I go? Who can provide me with the starting page and being able to build upon that? I mean, just being able, we need a solution where once we talk about the products and services, I need a go-to who can put that product up as a cookie cutter, and then we build from there.
Okay, so
that's everything.
Do you mind if I summarize real quick? I just want to make sure that I understand what you're saying. So essentially, what you want is to have your members know where they are in the city of Atlanta as it relates to business. So you would like to have, I think that's the first thing that you said. You'd like to have something set up where it says, okay, these are our members, these are our businesses, etc. I didn't hear you say that you would like them to connect to each other so that members know that there's another member over here that also has a business. Is that something that?
Well, that's the directory.
Okay. So then the other part I heard was that there needs to be some sort of education or development as it pertains to social media use for businesses. Is that also correct?
Yes, for them to understand which tool would be best for them to use.
Okay. And then, well, those are the two main things that you're saying, correct?
Yep.
Okay.
And then the third one is the presentation in and of itself, because we are privileged to have Microsoft, Google at the table, and just being able to be very specific about what they need to know about our community in terms of best communicating those individuals.
So you said you have 3 business community policy.
Mm-hmm. Those are the 3 areas of focus. That's what we've narrowed. And those are 3 personalities actually.
Business community and policy.
And it sounds like another thing you want to. It sounds like the overarching thing is how to effectively connect the members.
Mm-hmm.
Once you can connect the members, then you can engage. Then you can find out what they need to be able to tell the different things. So it's like if you can figure out how to connect them, then you can solve a lot of problems underneath that, as far as being able to communicate with the business, being able to communicate with the organizations that want to help, being able to communicate with people who want to know where they are, because you'll be able to talk to the members in one place. And then the part of doing that is you have to be able to get them online. So that's kind of a section.
That's the challenge.
Okay. Were you going to say something?
No, that's what I was going to mention. The first thing is actually getting them socially active. From there, you can move into connecting them through the directory and then engaging them. So I think the first step is to actually get active and get them done.
I have another question. Can you talk a little bit, just briefly, what does your staff look like? Like, how many full-time staff do you have?
We don't have any full-time staff.
Okay.
We have volunteer staff.
All volunteer.
It's all volunteer. So,
And what is
for example, whoever's leading my economic development, that's what they're focused on. Everybody that's over a particular committee, that's what they're focused on, so either by industry, by committee, or by council. When you look at business community government, you have subcommittees under those committees that are industry focused, or regionally focused, or interest focused. So the infrastructure in terms of how, that's why our grassroots is so strong. We can reach a large amount of individuals because those individuals represent subject matter experts within the chain.
Do you guys also have interns? Do you have any social interns now?
No.
So it looks like we need to have a social, the people that are actually volunteering. The social part of it.
Before we start doing solutions, before we start solving, let's make sure that we're identifying these.
I think you hit what you said in the summary of connecting members. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. It begins there.
And then connecting.
Okay.
Right.
So
Now,
that,
here's the thing: a majority of them are online.
Yeah, but online is a relative term.
Okay.
They show up online. They know how to use it, but they're not they're not using it to their full.
but they don't have time, and that's why I say that's what an opportunity is.
That's the
Time
delusion.
is-
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's not- it's not
necessarily
that's
true that they don't have time. It's, yeah, it's
They don't
value
understand
that
it.
is placed on, yeah, and they don't, if there's no, they don't assign value to it, and they're not gonna have time.
But how do you educate that?
Right,
And
so
that's what
that,
we're-
so that's part of the solution. Part of your solution is education. And so what we have to, because what we're supposed to be focusing on today is like a product of some sort. So what you'll really need is a 360 sort of plan. So that means that there'll need to be some sort of online and or perhaps a mobile application, but there'll also need to be something that happens offline that connects the online environment, especially when you're talking about users who they're not intuitive users, like this doesn't just speak to them and they're going to jump on it, or you might not have a bunch of early adapters. The education component here is going to be very strong because we're setting a new precedent. We're trying to help people develop new habits.
All right, time. We need to introduce everybody.
Well, that's what I was gonna say, now that we have identified at least some question overarching about the problem first. Oh, no mind.
So with the first one, member ID directory, is your main focus for that directory to reach the general public, so the public understands?
But so using that directory one to connect members. I mean, the way it is now, members can actually go to the directory. They can, they see each other. They see where they're located from a. And that's why we led with the map, because it helped us too. They see where they are geographically. We can see where we are geographically. A person who's driving with this app, this app is mobile intuitive, so the person can actually see where these businesses are located. That's the first thing you see. So that part is now is kind of like in place. So now. This was done, we're still developing that part of it. So we want it to be where people can come, find great businesses, to members to go, to see each other and connect with each other. I think that this platform gives us that.
What is your form of entry? Is it for your local community? Does it event is associated?
Yes, every third Saturday. We have our doing business, and the reason what we do is that if a person calls or try to join the organization, that's the first point of contact, and that's because we want to make sure that they understand the culture of the organization, and it allows us to kind of take them through the different processes. So, because after orientation, like I said, we have the next thing, which is called Brand Me AMBCC, where we allow our photographers, technical people, whoever it is, to come in and introduce themselves and introduce the latest and greatest things of what that business person needs to know. It's as simple as my photographer, they need to be talking about, well, you need to have a pretty photo for LinkedIn. That helps your business, those types of things. So we've looked at the ecosystem of these things, and we figured out how it can provide opportunities for members. But the connectivity part, I think the educational part of it is kind of like, that's the overwhelming part. I mean, because when you start talking about the diversity, I mean, even like when we looked at fraternal organizations, for example, I mean, their sites are like, it's just a huge opportunity. And one of the things we've been trying to do is just grow the technical community in our organization.
So I have a question as far as that. So you say, one of the main things was educating, and essentially you're saying the people that work for you are volunteers. So where are you kind of pulling these people from? What are kind of your spheres of influence as far as where they're coming from and how they can actually...
We talking about the volunteers or the members?
No, well, the actual, both volunteers and the members, because the volunteers are going to be the ones that can actually help you educate.
Right.
As well.
Well, the volunteers get an economic benefit out of it. Guess what? You're doing a free seminar. You're giving them the cookie cutter solution. Then at that point, well, you can ask this lady right here. I mean, she's gotten so many website projects, but it's overwhelming for her because she's not going to do a $500 site anymore. It's like with all that headache, Right. So who's helping her? She's overwhelmed.
Right. So do you feel like that being said, that's pushing up the price?
Well, she doesn't do that market anymore, so I need somebody for that market. And then as those individuals start benefiting profit, I mean, these are growing businesses. So they may start off with I can only afford $250, I can only afford $500. But once they become successful, You know, they can do a little bit more. We had one young lady, Asia, who did the site. She did a couple of $500 sites, but those businesses grew, but it was no continuing education. You got them hooked on WordPress. We like WordPress. You know, WordPress is going to have an upgrade at some point. A lot of them didn't even upgrade the sites, and you know, it's like we got to have a strong educational part of it because the technology change. That's my challenge, even myself. Technology changes. I can't keep up with all that.
That still goes back to value.
But wait, before we start solutioning, now we need to, because I think we have a lot of different skill sets in the room. So everybody just go around, just say your first name and just kind of a general of what your skill set is, and then we need to section off so that we can work on the different elements of the potential solution. So we'll start with you, Joshua, since you're standing over there.
Sure. Joshua, overall content, technology strategy.
Maya, legal and business development.
Sabrina, social media manager, community development, and content management.
Nicholas, Prime Manager, IT, Project Manager.
Delilah, IT, database, development.
My name is Philip. I sell software to big businesses, so communicating complex software in a very easy way.
We're Keisha, I'm in user experience, and so what that means is I research potential users or existing users. Take that data to inform requirements, and then also wireframe design, which is enhanced off developers.
I'm Brandon. I basically oversee development of large oversee production for large development creative teams. So everything from gathering user requirements through the whole process, working with creatives, UX both designers, developers, all the way to production and deployment support.
Taisha, I'm a recent graduate from Georgia State. Did mostly videography, marketing, that has some background in social media marketing and SEO.
Mike, essentially do relationship management, merchant services, essentially linking different corporations with different merchant services.
My name is Ashia. I do writing, so content creation, content strategy, social media management strategy, but then also project execution. So I can help take an idea and make it happen.
John Stevens, photographer, mostly visual storytelling and user experience and results, management productivity for clients.
I'm Kiana. I deal with brand, marketing management, creative, so that includes everything from communication design, logo designs to websites.
Lex Brown, I do project management, IT, also content creation. And one thing I wanted to mention, because I know that a big thing for us today is incorporating Google products. So I created a community booty hack team, AMBCC, so that as we're having an ongoing discussion, if you're online, if we could just post little comment threads on here. I have a group on there for us now, so we can have that going. No problem.
That's gonna look good.
Okay, so it sounds like there's overlap, of course, but we have some clear delineation. You have kind of the non-tech people and the tech people. So maybe it would be helpful if we separate it as much as we can to.
So we have like a lot of our challenges that we're facing. And being that we have a very short amount of time, we have so many complex challenges that are out there. We should probably focus on one specific challenge. And I know one of the easiest ones to do is education. So you were saying that education is a big issue. So I mean, I would propose like we have helped them develop like a TED Speaks type situation because he has the ear of all these Fortune 100 companies. He can easily get anybody like from Google to communicate how to use Google Hangouts to.
Right.
So that'd be the suggestion.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Those of us who aren't tech specific could help come up with an idea as it relates to education, because that's more on the ground, people, manpower type of employment. And then the people that are more tech IT related can maybe come up with a solution for the member ID, the member directory, as it relates to Google Places. Maybe they need to incorporate, a mobile platform. Maybe they need to consider an app. Maybe they don't need to do either, and they just need to make it all. Like what will make the most sense that they can start, considering the fact that they essentially have no staff. So there really isn't like someone that can come in and manage this. That's like our baseline. Like they don't have a staff that they can rely on to come in.
Can we keep in mind that there is a budget challenge, because it's like, so the whole suggestion of a mobile platform, all of their sites are responsive, so they are essentially mobile. To invest in a mobile application would mean to invest in advertisement and making sure that that's visible. Again, the social platform.
Not necessarily.
Let me ask you guys.
And also,
they might have a solution.
The reason we're here is because there's an opportunity, like, for the best ideas to eventually get funded, and there's a rule to work within a certain budget.
Okay.
So if this idea works and wins, you could essentially get $25,000 to have.
Oh, I didn't know that we had a budget.
Yeah, that's part of the goal.
And that's also why I'm
That's what
saying
I'm saying.
if we're using Google's API, which is open source, that you can use for creation. You're already using it, so that's why the tech people can come up with, if there's a solution, a way to, because you have at least 3 different independent web properties outside of social media that are existing that aren't connected. So if there's a way to bring them together, connect them with the idea, because you guys that's why you have no staff. So really, essentially, we're operating from a no budget. And if you get money, then of course you can do extra stuff. But if you start from 0, then you can see what we can do. So that's my suggestion. So to take what Philip said, as far as for us, the non-tech people, to come up with an education solution, and then for the tech people to come up with a directory solution platform, or whatever,
So
solution, or whatever.
platform, but I like what you guys were saying. It was like, I think what I heard was like, you said it was 2 solutions. You said it was
So there's 2 solutions, right? So we can come up with ideas based on what Achia said, things that you can do right now based upon what you have.
Right.
But then you're also here to take advantage of this opportunity, and you've created your own opportunity. So today you can pitch at the end what the idea is, and there's an opportunity for you to win that money. But you also have your own meeting set up. So when you go into these presentations, you can pitch that this is the platform you'd like to move into, and this is how it's going to use Google products, and this is why you need their money. So we're not just talking about solutions that we can do today. We have to build out for the vision for the future, no matter what the current resources are, so that you can articulate your needs, which is one of the things you said you needed.
Yeah. So right now we're just doing a baseline, and then you can build.
Yeah, I just wanted to propose something in interest of time, because basically we got like 4 hours and 30 minutes. What I'm thinking, I'm hoping my project management people could back me up on this, is that we actually have objectives, like, right now before we split into groups. All right, and we'll say, like, very basically, look, this is what the structure's going to be like, so nobody can feel like anybody wasn't heard. Look, at this time, this is where we're going to start moving into implementation, into actually, creating some type of mock-up, or, high fidelity wireframe, so on and so forth. So I want to just go ahead and put that timeline on the board. Another thing, I think it's going to take longer for us to split into 2 groups and to develop solutions that are quote-unquote tech and non-tech. So I think if we can, spend literally 10 minutes max on focusing on 2 or 3 ideas, getting those on the board, figuring out which ones we feel like are the strongest ones for us to win, and so we can help these guys, and then splitting up and saying what are the tech and non-tech challenges.
And piggybacking off that, I believe that if we stay as a collective group, we can just focus in on the education portion and keep that within the $25,000 budget, but at the same time offer additional solutions that can later be expanded upon, because you can just add code and things to that later and make it more robust.
Let me say that if that's possible, if feasible, we can do that. Then that's
Let me put the importance of success in this project in you guys' mind, and what differentiates us from everybody who stood up there. If we're able to connect a business community of minorities to give more attention and productivity, where they can communicate effectively, they in turn will create more business, generate more profits, and able to create more jobs for our community.
Basically like a new black economy.
Right. Yeah. I don't want to say that, but yes. We say black. We say black one time. We say the Atlanta Black Chamber. You don't hear black come out of our mouth anymore.
I think
so. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Because the thing is, everybody else has their economy.
Right.
We don't want the economy don't have ours.
Right. And a lot of
95 cents every dollar it leaves our
here, like I said, and kind of overseeing large technical teams. I think instead of kind of delineating between technical and non-technical, we should, one, if we're going to break up into teams, which might make sense if we're going to have multiple projects, is to kind of identify, okay, who's going to be the lead, and then what specialists do we have? Because collectively, you know, there might be opportunities to leverage, you know, other people. So, for example, from an education standpoint, like I said, at my job, I oversee, you know, social media education for Home Depot and how that program is deployed. But I might be able to provide something to that conversation if you kind of see me as a web guy. So I just think that maybe once again, if we can kind of define maybe specialties or roles so that each group, if we ultimately do that, is maybe balanced out. That's if we're going to split into groups to go down the timeline route.
Oh, yeah, so also as we go, you know, down the timeline, if we do separate into two groups, and the two groups are then communicating with each other. Right, because if you have, you know, tech people, they're on one idea, project management people on another idea, we need to come back together and make sure they're still on the same page.
Well, based on, it sounds like what we're gonna do is focus on the education component, and what we can do is have a tech layer, and so we can kind of do them at the same time. So what we should start with right now is what's our agreed upon timeline? How long are we gonna work on each section of the project?
And I would say, let's not assume that everybody is, like, wants to do a tech, let's give everybody, like, a total group, like 7 minutes after we finish this timeline, making pitches, and we go with whatever the best one is decided by the group.
Pitches of what?
What we should go with, like what's the problem that we're focusing on and that solution, and then we'll just go right to.
7 minutes too long.
I thought we already had 3 issues that we were focusing
No,
on.
we have 3 issues. We don't have any concrete solutions. All right, so go ahead. I'm not trying to, you know, what's the first objective?
The first thing we need to do is, well, it sounds like we've identified what we want to focus on. The biggest pain point is education.
Getting the people online, connecting them to each other. It was like the 2 things. We wanted to do that via education.
I just like to kind of came in. Well, can you just verify what you mean by getting people online? Does that mean getting users registered?
Well, they need to have the basic infrastructure and just be able. We want to promote their business, right? Right. So you got to have a website. What do you have to have? You have to have a website. You have to have an online presence. Okay, some have an online presence, some don't. Right. For those who do have an online presence, they don't have time to maintain their online presence.
Right.
Or don't know how to effectively get it and how to market it. Yeah, that's the thing about it, which is that you can have those, but if you don't know how to market it, and that's what, okay, keep going.
That's why education is.
But then let me ask you this. On that, then, that's something you guys have to consider too. So if they're saying, we're thinking, entrepreneurs saying, I don't have time, how do we find time for them, or how do we teach them how to find time? Because you're challenging me right now, saying, well, it's not a time thing, right? And then, but I don't have time to come to look. I don't have time to come to this either. I don't have time to come to the meeting. So how do I use some, I guess, virtual platforms where we can do that online too? So that's something else to think about.
So it almost, like I said, I've built a whole lot of websites in my life. So it almost sounds like what you're saying is people come to you that have businesses, and they might be in different stages of maturity in that business.
Absolutely.
Some people may have just an idea and don't know anything about executing that idea. Some people may have been in business for 15 years, and maybe they're at a pivot point, or their sales are down, and they need to find ways to, basically make their business better. There's also like that technical limitation where some people don't have a website. But people that don't have a website, as somebody that actually had brick and mortar web design stores in 3 malls in Atlanta, I can tell you that most small business owners either don't want to learn, don't have time, they just want to work. So I don't want to jump to a solution, but I want to kind of propose maybe a framework. It almost sounds like what you need, and for those of you who are familiar with WordPress multi-site, where essentially you have a what's called a intranet / front-end system that basically allows you to members log in, you to understand where their pain points and objectives are. It can be something as simple as a checkbox or whatever. Based on whatever options or preferences they set, you can then push different solutions to them through that portal. And then ultimately, they have the ability to customize that. So for example, like think of Wix. Like Wix is a hosted website solution. So everybody's website is abc.wix.com. Like if you had a system like WordPress multi-site, if you were able to log in, set the preferences to where they are in the maturity of their business. So for example, you need a website, bam, it enables the website module, where then that person can build a drag and drop website template. if you need education, about certain like social media, the education module comes on. And in that education module, what do you need to know? You need to know about social media management, sentiment, you need to know how to use Twitter, you know what I'm saying? Like basic stuff. You have finance resources. Are you looking for finance resources? Good. What kind of finance resources? Bank. I mean, it almost sounds like you need this. This is what I do for a living. But I mean, it almost sounds.
You're talking
like,
a port.
Right. It almost sounds like you need a portal that is customized based on people's preferences. That has different modules that solve these problems.
Okay, so it sounds like we have a solution.
As far as that's a portal that's online based, and then you also need to come up with a education.
Right, the education
Creating an educational model.
So then,
I would say that instead of Wix or WordPress, we use Google.
Well, I'm just using it as an example.
I'm just throwing it out.
The technology, I'm technology agnostic. What I will say is, so okay, we've agreed on a portal. Let's agree on maybe. So we have 3 pain points, right? Member directory. So potentially, could that be a feature of this portal?
I would put, if I was to say member understanding first. And
so member
that's
education.
not going to be a part of the portal,
Okay.
because that's going to be an on the ground, because trying to
Right.
convince someone to get online and get education who's not online, it's going to be a big
So
thing.
let's just-
So you have to
is
have
it-
some in-person communication.
It just one more thing, like, and I might miss this, I truly apologize, but could we actually write the maybe 3 types of member personas on the board so that as we're ideating on these ideas, we know who we're talking to? For example, like member ID, that's great. Does that mean we should be thinking about as a business? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Can we hold on one second though, because we're still trying to figure out how much time we're gonna spend on each, and you just gave us a whole solution, which we have.
So that's one solution.
So basically, we agreed on a solution.
multi-site platform.
A multi-site platform is the
Did
solution.
anybody have our criteria? Because I thought we were supposed to make a mobile app.
well, that's the other part of it.
It's supposed to be a mobile app or
Is that what you're saying?
was it a web app or a website? Or web solution.
Okay, I thought it was only an app.
Yes, they want us to use Google products, so we can.
So can we identify 3 Google
I have
products
to
for
be back
the
2
review?
o'clock, so I just wanted to try to give as much, I'm sorry, I don't mean to put anybody off.
So we're coming up with our solutions now, and then we're gonna create the timeline or vote on that.
Well, since we kind of, that's essentially what I was saying. We come up with a tech-oriented solution, and then we come up with an on-the-ground solution that involves actual education bodies and people.
But did anybody else have ideas so that we can vote on our solution and then move forward based on that?
Right. I mean, if there are other potential suggestions, but what we can do though is to make the timeline work. That let's give ourselves the next 10 minutes to determine what the solution is. So so we have one idea. Actually, it's kind of 2 ideas, and then we'll work through those. So let's say it'll be 10 minutes to agree on the solution. Oh, do you have a question about the timeline?
I was gonna do a pitch.
Okay, well, one second before the pitch. So then, after we agree on the solution, then are we saying that we want to, because in order for us to be feasible about it, the tech people need to come up with the way that we can make this happen, and it kind of has to happen fast. But then the other people who are a little bit more project oriented, we can come up with the way that the on the ground solution can happen. And then that's where we're split off.
So agree on solution, personas, and then
Well, and I want to understand this. One of the limitations of this project is we have to use Google products, right?
You don't have to.
You don't have to, but
So for those that are initiated, you can pull up, I think it's with apps.google.com.
Well, we're already,
They show you.
they're using Google Places for some of their stuff already, so that can just be, that's what I said, people who are tech, who kind of understand. The reason I'm saying tech is because you know the back end feasibility of bringing it together.
Yeah, I just want to make sure I understand the list of products we can potentially pull
So it's
from.
on that goodyhack.com/resources, it's on there.
So these are those are the members.
These are all the products that have.
Oh, yeah, one second before we.
It's semantics.
Yeah,
that would be the next feasible thing, right?
but I am. We'll talk
Yeah.
offline.
Once we agree on the solution, then we have to do persona development, then groups.
Brandon,
If we do groups.
I really like this solution.
Yeah, we'll separate into
It
the
makes
2
sense.
groups. And that might.
You mentioned WordPress?
take, like,
Well,
In those 2 groups, that's product.
technology, in my opinion, doesn't matter. Then you get into the sophistication of like IT, like
there are issues with WordPress. I just use WordPress as examples. A lot of people believe with how WordPress is multi-site works.
So
multiple
I guess the question is, the owners over here, are we making this site now?
No.
If you guys are designers or developers, you want to start working on it, something, whatever you can do before 5, that's fine. Or you kind of come up with a mock-up, that's fine too.
I'm asking because we're doing 10-minute increments, but when we actually do the design and actually development, where and what are we still lost in there? What are we going to develop?
That's what we're trying to get the timeline down so we can know.
Let's change this, right? We're the clock is ticking on agreeing on solution. Let's do that and let's develop the personas and then we'll further develop the timeline.
Well, after we do the breakouts, let's just say.
No, I'm saying let's say and say, look, this is what each group is going to accomplish in an hour.
And based on what he's saying, and then when we need a Google Docs presentation with some kind of logo, and as long as we have that presentation to outline everything in the app with the logo, we should be fine.
So now we'll go back to.
We got 10 minutes, 8 minutes for pitches.
We have one solution.
All right, what we call your solution?
Is this a portal? It's an online portal? It's an online portal, multi-site portal?
Yeah, online, end-to-end.
Yeah, just for English, just for.
I'm trying to think it out loud. I'm trying to think of something.
It's a multi-site portal.
Multi-site portal, let's say multi-site portal.
Since we covered this pitch, we know what it is. All right, cool. Next pitch, please.
The solution is on education, on ground education.
No, but what's the solution?
I got it.
Yeah.
All right. So why do small businesses join why do people join your organization to better build their business specifically for the Black community, right?
No. It's different reasons. So some people are attracted to the chamber because they're looking for support. How do I build a great business? Some people who are established businesses will come to the chamber to get in front of key decision makers who can give them a contract. And then some businesses just do it for this notoriety and status. So those are my 3 different members.
So basically what you want to do is have your organization be the hub for all these 3 different solutions, right? So what I was thinking was you could use Google Hangouts, which is the app that Google uses, as a central hub for education on these 3 individual aspects. And what you can do, because you have such great, relationship with Microsoft and Google, you can have really influential, members of the organizations do talks about how they can use Google to effectively enhance their business. And I know I do it for what I do is I go onto TEDTalk.com and I go on there and look at how these people are successful using specific apps. And it can all be for free. And because it's all Google centric, they would do all that stuff for free, and they would provide the infrastructure to do it. It's really simple. It's really cost effective, and it's a little bit more simpler solution. And if I were a business owner, and if I see Sanjay talking about how I use Google to effectively increase my business, I would do it all because it's free. I have an influencer that's going to do it, and a technological platform to do it. It's really simple. And you don't have to do money, and you already have your Google email, so it would do it for you. And you can tie all that stuff together into it. So that's
the second
name it is
Google Hangouts. Google Hangouts.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, online education, use Google Hangouts.
Wow.
Yeah, 2 words.
Hangouts.
Hangout series. I'm good with that. All right, next pitch, please.
We got one called Commerce Tech. It can be a mobile app basically that you can do push notifications from all of your social platforms, whether you tweet, YouTube, Google Hangouts, so on and so forth. It can all be sent as push notifications to the members on the mobile app. So we centralize all the posts.
Okay. We got 3 minutes. Next pitch. Like that.
The value
Yeah, film everything.
That's
Before I get into the details of the solution, let's just say you have a pitch for a potential solution.
Just go ahead.
Well, I'm saying I value why they should sign up. So given some type of ordeal to where you're adding value to that business and showing them how, like use cases, case studies, something like that. So, this is what we've done with this business. They went from this to this. This is why you should sign up with us. Versus, that's just a direction. It's not a solution, but it's more so why would I get them here versus Atlanta Chamber of Commerce? What value are adding more than what they are, or are you connected? So I have a friend that goes to Sandy Springs Chamber of Commerce, and he said it's way better. So, what value am I bringing or adding?
All right, let's hold on to that to make sure everybody gets their pitches out and integrate that into.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's not a solution, but it's going to tie all three of those.
Whichever solution.
Anybody else got pitches? Not so much, almost like a certification system where somebody can go through a palette of courses, and once they've completed, they can get a branding that's associated to your organization. It's actually posted through all of their social media saying that they have done A, B, and C, which makes them social media proficient. They've gotten the education from the Chamber of Commerce, as well as they met approval, almost like a hallmark symbol to create value.
And that's phase 2 of that. So you see with that rating system, as they complete those folks, we can actually implement that through our rating system.
The issue is those people who don't have fax machines. So they're going to.
Well,
that's education. We'll just
the trick is if you've already got a rating system, to also expand on that and actually create a wrapping paper from a field standpoint. Create a wrapping paper around that, so it's something that somebody can actually present to the public that are not necessarily members, as well as give members an opportunity to kind of puff your chest up a little bit to say, what, I'm a gold member, I'm a platinum member of the Chamber of Commerce. This gives me an opportunity to have these benefits across the country as well as in the whole country.
Digital research too, which I'm pretty sure you probably already do.
So I just want to add to your pitch. I like the idea of the badge system, but integrating it with this, with being an app, kind of like if you're in the area, I don't know if you guys know our group, but you can say, okay, I'm in 30318. I want to find black businesses within 20-mile radius, and then you shoot that, and then when I click on it, then it says, okay, well, this company, if my member doesn't have a website, they still have a visual presence because they have this landing page, and then I can see what certifications they have. They've gone through the training and say, okay, this is this, and I can find out where they're located, the time and place. So even if they don't have all those technology pieces in it, because I am a business owner, and some of these things it's just not time efficient. But even if I didn't have a chance to do any of these things yet, you still give me the online presence, which is a benefit for me as a consumer.
Awesome. Go ahead.
Say it again now. Well, Nick, what did you say?
He said it's your system.
Okay,
They don't have to host other people's sites.
so let's keep it together. Anybody else have any solutions?
Last thing I want to say about the solutions is that we can pretty much tie everything into that commerce.
Okay, cool. Because I can change the name on top of yours.
Yeah, we can change the name and whatever. But
and everybody's. So this is what
the other thing too is I don't want us to forget about, and this is where you at, John. 15-second, 30-second commercial big now, and businesses get that. Listen, I can get you online for a 15-second commercial. And then once they understand commercials, so that from that commercial, and then introduce them to the web component. So I just want you guys to
that's
take
the
note of
education that probably needs to be in person. There needs to be, so that's something that we can all just kind of think about, because we could probably just come up with some ideas about how you can solve that.
Okay.
And those are just a matter of, here's an idea, this is how you can do that. We'll talk about that.
So my pitch is basically combining the best of everyone's idea to an all-in-one app. So we were talking, Shea and I were talking earlier about in Denver, I work with to create like a black business yellow pages, and so like I would never recreate another like physical book, but if we used an app, and I think that what you have right now, pull it in Google Maps, API and everything, is the perfect basis for that, and I believe that you will motivate businesses to become educated about the process and to get certified if they see that people are, like if we show them analytics where, these pages happen, right, and we show them people are actually going and trying to find you. And so basically what the app would look like is something similar to like a scout mob type of thing where you're trying to find black businesses in your area. You'll see some are certified, some are not certified, right? Another thing is there's a membership component to it. Let me not say membership, there's a referral component to it where you're looking at it and you're like, okay, well, I'm affiliated with it, so there's some kind of perk. You know, I don't know if it's a discount. Like, I don't know if there's like, you know, like you have some kind of bitcoins or virtual currency that's tied to it.
Or check-in.
Yeah, basically, yeah. And so,
I like the check.
And so on top of the check-ins and all the other stuff, right? You can have a standard page, right? You can pull in your website, or if somebody doesn't have a website, they can do a Google site. This goes in and pulls in the Google site, right? On another portion of the app, there's the whole thing where you can go and get the education, and this is only for actual members though. So there's a non-member component where we still creating that economy. There's a member component where you have like, okay, people are going through and they go on the website or they go on their app and they see these talks, right?
Yeah.
You know, they see all this stuff, so something that's kind of like all-encompassing, and then each component.
And right along with that, when businesses opt in to push notifications from whatever intern or volunteers working at the Chamber of Commerce, you know, you can shoot a quick news blip and then say retweet this, so that the business owners know, well, if you don't really have a lot of time on your hands, if you're retweeting informative, valuable information to your customer base, then that still gives you some kind of good reputation online. So make it easy for them basically and just have it, you know, hey, retweet it.
And if you're on the ground, if you see a business and you're on the ground, you can add the
Brandon,
okay, yeah, last one, because we run out of time.
And maybe this might digress. Do you know what the perception of your organization, the sentiment of your organization is now?
There's like a digression.
I mean,
Feels like it could be a little digression.
Yeah, let's come back to that.
Yeah,
once
come
we
back
start.
All right, cool.
I have a question about that.
Okay, so
A lot of people still are not aware that we exist.
Okay, so we are we good? We got 5 of them. So we got more than enough.
We have 5 solutions, now we need to pick one.
And then
I guess the question is, are we picking one, or?
Well, we're picking one to pitch for this solution.
Yeah, because we also need to make sure that it's feasible, the feasibility of something that we can actually at least come up with a pitch and a potential product model to pitch that platform.
So can we make sure we all understand the rules so we don't go too far outside the boundaries? What are the rules of the competition?
Can we go resources?
No, it's 25,000. I know it has to be some application or web-based, right?
So it
Has to
says-
use Google products.
She got right here. Thank you. All right, go ahead.
All right, so 4-minute product on a web or mobile app. Have a name. You have to say team members. That's important. The nonprofits challenges, our solution, and the Google products or services we're going to use at the same time. Projected impact, a logo, user feedback, open data use, mock-up or prototype, and marketing plan / potential partners.
So that's a lot.
Yeah, the bonuses were app logo, user feedback, open data use, mock-up or prototype, and marketing plan or list of potential partners. Those are all bonuses.
I like their app logo.
You know, let me tell you guys this. I think what you guys may want to all pull up is ambcc.us and look at it. Right. Because it has everything that you guys have just put in it. We just got to improve upon it.
Right.
Because it is a solution. Because we're using Google Devices. I think you talked about the push button solutions. That kind of is in our share. I just not quite sure exactly how we implement that. You talked about the certifications. That's in the ratings. We got the web connection. And then the other thing too is that you could just offer this landing page. You asked about the web, like do we have the capacity? This landing page by itself, we can put a video on that landing page. We can, because most people, if you think about the Yelp platform, people click on, they go to Yelp, that's it. So even if they didn't have time to do a website, at least they got a landing page through us, and I think that's what Damon talked about, that one source pub, and then that'll expose them and begin getting them started. So ambcc.us, they look at that and pitch that, because then we can present all those products.
That's the time we have to have time, guys. Like We gotta decide on a solution so we can get working.
Yeah, so are we gonna focus on a web solution, or are we gonna give?
I think it's answered.
So, all right, it's twofold. I really think we do need to clarify that because it really is twofold. We're doing education and we're also doing marketing to bring people in. And so if we're implementing these, how are we going to implement it toward both of them?
See, what we have to do is, as a group, determine overall what's the most impact we can have that's the most feasible. And even if it solves one of their issues or whatever, what is the greatest impact we can have? And so, and honestly, we got about 3 hours.
Yeah, it's about the MVP. That was part of the presentation.
Yeah, that's the thing. We need to pick one thing and focus on it. And as you have ideas, if you have an idea about a solution that they can use, just make a note. So that way you can they can be aware of what they can do. Because right now they don't even really have a general awareness about what they can. If in the process, you can make a note.
If I can interject one thing, you did mention that a lot of the members do not even have smartphones, so I feel like we should focus on that.
Yeah. Do we want to be a mobile solution?
No, we want to get them to that level.
But no, that's not part of it.
So let's do this. All right, no, it's fine. Let's keep. I'm gonna change the time a little bit because it seems like everybody has some kind of concerns. So I'm just gonna say, starting now, 3 minutes of discussion. And so please, if you have something to contribute to this.
Before we do that, are we gonna try to make an app? Or do we want to make?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, during this 3 minutes, you make a convincing argument as to what we should do and why.
Well, real quick, I would like to ask him a question. Most of your members, do the majority of them not have smartphones, or is it just that a lot of them don't have the time?
A lot of them have. It's time.
It's just the time, right?
Okay, so most businesses are going to have websites or
So it's not necessarily that they don't have access to the technology. It's just we have to focus on their time factor. That's probably like one of the main challenges.
I got
another question, but the interactions that we're going to have them do might be complicated from a mobile device.
Right.
Not necessarily if we focus on push notifications and things like that. Basically, it's a passive, something we can make a passive solution. Basically, all they have to do is have the app installed on their phone, and they're going to get push notifications from it every day. They pop it up. Oh, okay, this is going on in the community. Let me retweet this.
But Google
So that's your pitch. Is that your pitch? Wait, is that your pitch for an app? So you're thinking that we should go with an app-based solution?
Even if it's the Google Hangout, it's a similar thing because you can set up notifications.
Right.
People can opt in for that too.
So are you saying?
Are you voting for app?
Yeah, we're trying to
I'm
make
pushing more for an app, but
one for app.
yeah.
I'll just push for an app because more people have phones than they do computers, phones and tablet devices, and more traffic. 2014, mobile traffic and tablet traffic is going to outpace, laptop and desktop
Well, I
traffic.
just want to. No, it's actually data. I have data that I got from his website.
No, I'm saying. So you're saying that.
Yeah, I'm just throwing out.
It makes 2 ticks for app. I just noticed on his website that they get 10,000 visitors a month. So I don't know. I just don't want us to roll out a website just because we think
Do you support a web solution?
But see, I think part of it is we're determining whether app or whether web. But the thing is that part of the education is
Well, that's the thing. That's not technology based. That's what I'm saying. What we need to do. This is how. That's an underlying issue across the board with all of anything that that's tech related.
But what I'm saying from a project and relationship management standpoint, which is that if they don't even really are educated about it, why are you trying to get them in that?
Because what we need to do is. So you're voting for.
There you go.
I just want to put so. I know all of us have done a lot of things. One thing I would just caution everybody to maybe consider is that we're making the assumption that these are sophisticated users.
Right.
And what I would say is that not only might they not be sophisticated users, but they're also people busy trying to run a business. And so the assumption that an app might be the best solution, one, might not be right for all users. Two, understand there's a large underlying infrastructure and additional costs that go into that. You know what I mean? So just, I would say personally, web first. I would say through the web. Through the web, like I mentioned, when people there's I won't call it an induction process, like a process when you first log in. There's an opportunity not only for them to set preferences, but for you all to learn about them. So ultimately, maybe you can make better decisions about what they might need down the road by gathering.
And I think that goes back to asking you, what is it that is more important as far as that? Is it more the trying to educate them about it, or is it trying to get people that you already have implemented into it and how to use it?
I think it's
all of it. I mean,
but you have to have a
I'm going back. Everything that is listen. Hey, you guys, I'm gonna go back to this. A couple of things. I'm gonna let Africa talk, but I really think you guys, everything that you guys have said is kind of in the ambcc.us format. Brandon hit it on the point. Due to the size of our organization and due to the voluntary nature of it, to have a portal for somebody to go in on their own time to get educated about something, to be able to post their business where it generates a landing page, and it's not really a web page, but to be able to just like log in, boom, I'm placing on AMBCC, they got a landing page, it's a picture of their logo, it's information about their business, it's a web link. If they got one, if they don't, they can use the landing page as the web link. That solves the problem. To me, and then I as a chamber, now let me go back to what Mike said, I as a chamber then can brand and leverage when I go out in the public, hey, you need to know about the site. Hey, you need to know about the site. We can do that through our social media campaigns. That solves all my problems. I got my education, I got my post for my landing page, I got my media promotional campaign to bring awareness to the chamber as a value add and
from the client.
Well, first, let me just say two things, because I know we're gonna, we ultimately need to focus on what you're saying is the need. However, if time is a primary concern, then how really will the member have the time to sit down on their own time and log on, and get educated? Because remember our point, when we get a member in, they go through the orientation. The second part is they can brand me AMBCC. If it's a good solution, they'll get an orientation for that. My only argument is that the mobile app is more passive. It requires less effort from them. All they have to have it is installed on their phone.
What we can do though is that you can have a mobile web solution. You still can have a mobile element with the web. So we can do both with the web solution.
Right. Yeah. The only other thing is when you talk about. I'm saying when you talk about how I look at an app is so confusing to me.
Yeah.
I like more. I like more. I like to see the site still. If you're looking for talent, if you're looking for longevity though and talent in the future, recruiting the younger talent pool, you're going to need an app too for that. For people that are designers, for people that are developers.
That may be phase 2 though.
Yeah.
We gotta let the client talk.
The reality is, and everybody's talking about apps and whatever, the entire site was built on responsive. It was built responsive so that it can transcend both the web and mobile devices. So if you look at the website on your phone or your tablet, it looks totally different from when you look at it on the website. It was done like that to reduce the overhead costs, because the first thing that we thought about was how much is it going to cost to do this. In addition to that, the education value that goes into teaching people how to use the mobile thing. If they already understand how to use the website, they understand that it's going to be a little different, but it still looks the same to them. Because again, these people, I can tell you, they're not interested in learning anything. The Google series is an awesome idea to incorporate into what we have. All we need to do is come up with a portal solution, which we already have with the AMBCC US, and kind of figure out how we can integrate all of these things so that we can have two-way communication with the.
Okay, so this. All right, so this. Right. So what we need to do now, that's an overarching solution. What we need to do now is there are a lot of different points in all of these. All right, which ones go in there? And so we kind of backtrack back to the Google community idea. Yeah. And focusing on the Google product as a central tool.
And then another thing about an app is like
doesn't have to be a standalone. It could be like a companion thing that's for other people.
So what
So,
happens?
yeah, exactly. And so we can tie in all kind of recommendations. Yeah, let's do that. All right. Okay. So look, I'm gonna erase basically everything here and move the timeline to the left. All right. Is everybody good?
Yes.
Okay.
Does it flip?
You can't move it around.
Oh, no, it's attached.
That's an old school.
Yeah, this was the first one. This is one, the first one. Rich's bought.
AMBCC goodie hack.
What is it again? What's the
AMBCC goodie hack.
Yeah, on my bad. Goodie hack team AMBCC.
Yeah. What's the website trying to use?
Goodie hack team AMBCC.
That's a Google Plus. That's a Google community.
Yeah,
Oh, good.
But the website is ambc.us.
We can't win because we can't be tied. All right. So,
I like that.
all right.
So we're gonna come up with
Excuse me,
a
guys, I'm sorry. Yeah, I want to introduce two mentors to you. We got Dave, the Resource Guild, and Young Nettles, Fox. So they're really good in PR, marketing, communications, media, blah, 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 blah. They're gonna observe, and if you guys have any questions, let me give some ideas.
So you hooking me up, man. I mean, wow. You good?
What am I supposed to do?
I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
You guys have asked.
So we've decided, the client has decided, it's a web-based solution. What we're going to do, are we going to focus on, and now, based on the pitches, what's the most feasible? Can actually come with a presentation, and I think we should have at least a mock-up of what it is by 4 o'clock. As far as that's tech oriented. You said education series.
Education series through the Google.
Google Hangouts.
I would also like to throw in mining resources from content, because creating an educational module in theory sounds good, but we also have an education background. She and I, we teach in classrooms, corporations, we create modules as well. That's not,
it ain't as easy.
It's not a cakewalk in terms of you can have people present, but the things that go along with it in order to really create lasting solutions for learning is something different. So just kind of thinking about what that means once the idea is there. So I'm saying that perhaps strategic partnerships for education is a good idea. Where you, for example, with the TED Talks, kind of having relationships with or the organizations that's what they do, and giving them an option to have their education resources also on your website, so that you're not responsible for creating everything, but you can still offer those services.
Right, and that's what my question was, which is that other than the actual business center with the chamber, who are your actual partnerships with right now?
This sounds like a long
Microsoft. I mean, no, it's Microsoft.
I'm sorry, I just
Google is in. Yeah, we have all kinds of education, and those that we don't have, all we have to do is pick up the phone and get them.
Okay, so they have access to the
So
resources.
to her point, though, we can utilize the e-learning, but we can just use it as a bullet point in the pitch. We don't have to actually solve that problem right now. We can just speak to that point. We want to voice it and say this is part of our pitch.
E-learning.
So the one thing that he seemed to like and made him feel the most tingly was the multi-site portal. So maybe that needs to be our solution, and in the middle of that solution, we address education.
We explain how.
Okay, so all right. So I'm gonna just make this observation. We're kind of agreeing and saying the same things and feeling good about it. Cool. Let's talk about what it's going to take to win this pitch. Okay. So in order to win this pitch, right, we're going to need what?
We need a great presentation.
Okay, wait. So let's start with what that presentation looks like. Let's spell out what success looks like, so then we can break into teams to make that happen.
Joshua, what you erase the issues? We want to make sure we can visualize the issues as well, so we don't forget.
Okay.
You can write them over here in the corner, but we just need to put a box on it and do that erase. That's our focal point, right?
All right. Yes, sir.
In order.
Okay, so we have member directory, right? What else do we have? Education. And then we have, what was the third one?
Getting on running.
No, that would be education.
Is that part of education?
Engagement. We need to engage members.
You said it's team.
Okay.
Engagement is the member directory?
Good, you have?
Remember directory system
All right, cool. All right, next. So,
It's the hub.
what does success look like? What do we need in order to win the pitch? Like, we can bounce around ideas.
What are the requirements? You need to put the requirements
So-
up. You have, that she has. That are bigger.
If we're gonna go like we're gonna a story, so we're gonna come a different point.
Take somebody to watch it.
We'd like to put those requirements into the video.
I don't know.
As of
I
this,
think
so I will
they can go on the Facebook page and see the URL.
Right, but that's gonna bring the solution. It's still in front of everybody.
Hey, check out the Facebook page.
Thank you. Okay. To win, these are the template. Okay, these are the project requirements, and then we have to say we need to say what success looks like as a group. So are we gonna have like you know what I'm saying a functioning high fidelity wireframe, or we gonna have like UX over it,
So I'll speak as a Black enterprise elevator pitch. To win, you need. In every project, there are three things. There's vitamins, there's candy, and there's painkillers. In order to win, we need to identify as many painkillers as possible. We need to identify at least one or two killer features. There's a lot of things that can go into this.
Sure.
This product can evolve a lot of ways. I fully understand this whole roadmap. But what I'm saying is, folks are knowing what I think I've kind of heard is three buckets: communication, education, and resources at a very high level.
Right.
So understanding those are kind of three main buckets. What are some painkiller features that can go within those three buckets? I think that's the first thing. Then, if you want to go into vitamins, some nice to have, but you're not really sure if they help. So, for example, yeah, like social media training is important, but all businesses might not necessarily need Pinterest training.
Right.
They might need primarily Facebook and Twitter training first.
Right.
You see what I'm
I
saying?
think it's going to be based on the business, which platform
Which
is best
makes
for
it
them.
But education for a business is not sitting in the class list up. I just need to know as a business owner, what's the difference between Facebook, Twitter,
exactly, and a lot of
LinkedIn is already why is it important?
So let's go. What's the painkiller?
Wait,
So
1 second. Do you have another marker? Can you
Yes.
write the requirements for the pitch just in the corner right there so we can see them and keep them top of mind so that we don't get. We might need to just have two. So can you at least just put the requirements up there while he's writing this?
all right, painkillers 3, 2 or 3, right?
So I think one painkiller we've already. I think the big one is education. But I think that's very broad. I think that we're in a tech conference. Remember that too. Like, this is a goody hack conference. So I think the painkiller we need to kind of lead with. I'm a PR guy too, so you lead with your best thing. I think it's the web feature. Because while it might not be the biggest pain, it's the sexiest thing that we can talk about in the context of what we're trying to win and get people to listen as we present the other ideas that we like. So we lead with the thing that's going to get everybody to listen. So I would say the first painkiller would be the ability to develop that landing page like we kind of talked about through this portal.
Okay. So a bit of, I just want to confirm.
Because you know why I like the portal? Because every organization just presented up there, that's a solution for every single
Exactly. Now you're getting, like I said, now you're getting to get the ability to rebrand this, and that's a whole.
Basically, multi-site portal.
But essentially, the first thing is the ability to develop called a simple landing page, a very simple.
A business can go and develop a simple landing page.
A business, like remember who we represent? We represent business, nonprofit.
Well, I'm just using business as a generic term.
I'm giving an example of what his solution solved all my problems.
I'm not taking anything away from that. What I'm saying is I'm trying to flesh out what it is that the painkiller is.
So the simplest one, basically you can go. It's called business landing page.
Okay.
I mean that's
Okay. Next. Yes.
Next painkiller, user data. To know exactly who we're pushing what to. If they had refined data in the sense of at the appointment tree, we knew it's not going to be necessarily the wrapping paper, but it's going to give us the meat that we need to push specific content to, whether it's training, whether it's, if a certain business is not interested in, Pinterest, we know that.
Right.
Because
that user data always actually solves the number one problem as well. Remember directory, because that.
Right, so user data.
It's going to be,
Okay, so just user data.
What's
Oh, and we can use
Google's answer
Google
to be what's Google's answer?
All right,
Goody, handle, space,
any others?
You want to put in parentheses Google and Google Analytics.
Let me try to.
Well, I think the other one is, kind of what Matt was saying right here, like from an education standpoint.
I did it in the
I think
search
there's
thing. I'm gonna
the
put it in the
ability to
search
provide
community.
online education resources, and like I said, there are different levels of sophistication with those resources, whether it's the CEO talking or it's a bullet point, one sheet on how to use Facebook.
So we want to say online education.
Online education platform.
We're not gonna focus on something.
Online, right, so we're talking about where we're gonna present,
Good.
even if it's a bullet point.
Got it.
Presentation.
Right, and so the way you can lead into this is now from a man right here standpoint of user data, like I said, with every user, there's gonna be an induction process. They gotta get loaded and unloaded into the system. At that unloading point is when you gather, one, the key information you need, but then you also present them with some optional information that you would hopefully help in fact further refine their needs.
So basically, let's start here. Let's start here. You data entry, right?
No, it's not data entry. Right?
So let's develop a start.
So what are you asking?
So
Well,
now
you're tying it all in.
this is what we're gonna focus on. We're gonna land here.
Yes.
This is what the product is gonna look like in infancy, and with the idea that we know we can grow out.
Right, so that's what I'm saying. So like when they're nice to have. So what are some other things that might not necessarily flesh completely out during this process, but we still think they're valuable to present to the group to show that we kind of provide foresight?
Do we have time to talk about that?
Yeah.
No,
We
don't.
It's a 4-minute presentation.
Yeah, but everybody
We have time to hit on this topic.
Well, okay,
And like I said, it's more about, I promise you, like, it's more about painting a big picture, because
so we need, I think we can do that with those bullet points right there.
What if we do this? Let's start with what we need to do to
We just need our
make this happen.
Yeah.
And then we can, because what we're probably doing is in a brainstorm, just in case, if we make a note of it, and then when we come back together, we can add on if we see we have space. Yeah, because we should suggest that anyway, because they may not have the time to sit down and consider how.
Experience of presenting, is it just important that we talk about the features, or do we need to talk about types of revenue, like potentials for revenue? Is that important?
So that's what we got to say. Projected impact is it?
Yeah, the impact is the exposure. The impact is the exposure that the directory will give to businesses that they don't see. Like them being on a directory and the chamber out there driving traffic to the directory gives their business exposure. Now I've solved their time problem.
No, I meant revenue for the chamber. Yeah.
So I mean, this is just my personal opinion as it relates to this particular solution. Is I don't think the revenue is revenue a goal? Like you're not actually looking at like maybe so
revenue is always a goal.
So potentially,
I don't think revenue is actually.
I would like to say that we're adding.
So we'll say no for now.
Yeah, no.
And if you come up with an idea or you think of a monetization.
The monetization
If we want to add that.
you can add the advertising, the consulting to be able to.
Right, well,
the monetization standpoint is
so that's fine. Okay,
so let's step back. Once again, if we're talking about the freemium solution, there's all different kind of things.
Yeah, we're gonna
so for example, you start from a free standpoint, people sign up, they get this simple landing page. But once again, okay, so here's a vitamins.
I wouldn't get into the price number. I would
but I wouldn't say yes.
member service.
There may be potential revenue opportunities like your point. So if we did want to highlight revenue opportunities, a potential way that you could generate revenue is by maybe offering premium features like instead of just getting a one-page website, you can maybe do a 4-page web. You know what I'm saying? Or like maybe
larger, robust.
Yeah, like maybe they're like, or maybe like if you have e-commerce, if you're an e-commerce business, the one-page website doesn't support that. But if you pay us an extra $9.95 a month, we'll turn on the e-commerce feature, so now you can add products. You know what I'm saying?
So that's just
With the option of in a 4-minute presentation, that's something. I mean, you got.
Right.
So for the let's not add on any vitamins, because what we need to do right now is begin to execute and come up with how this idea is going to look, so that we have something to present. Right. So now we need to figure out. What's our next steps in order to get into so that we can at least come up with what this is?
So, once again, I think this is almost like a dashboard for businesses that.
No, not what it should look like. What are our next steps in order to execute that? And what do we need to do as people to begin to do?
So for the landing page, we need to do so. We need pitch people. We need people who can create the visual graphics. So that's what we split up.
So now we split up. So we need pitch people, and then we need. I'm gonna say tech people. I know y'all seem like that.
Who the tech folks? Great name. All right. We all.
I think we all are tech.
Yeah. Well, that was the question.
Okay, so the logo, we can use the same logo. That's a given. I mean, that's some of the bonuses we already have. The app name, that's AV.
Before we do that, let's all start actually working on a product, because we can brainstorm this today. So we're all very smart people with different ideas, and so I know we can come up with ideas and concepts and vitamins, painkillers, sexy, all that. All we need to do now is execute something. So we have our, like I said, our non-tech people, who can be our pitch people. We come up with what we can do to sell it, essentially. And then now we need the tech people for feasibility. So how feasible it is to make this happen and what that requires. So we need to.
With that, I think we should put the UX developer.
Well, I would think the UX, she would kind of be more
Yeah,
because.
But I'm saying for you to start now, you need to start doing the draft.
So I'm not a tech person, but I want to be in the tech group.
Okay.
And the reason I say that is because I think you need to balance of saying, I'm not a techie, so how would I actually use it?
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying if you're not tech, you can't be in the tech group. I'm just saying we need a group working on tech and we need a group working on execution.
I have another question.
If we don't have that, it won't happen.
The presentation, if we're in two separate groups,
No,
we're not working together.
We're gonna do this until 4. So what we do is come back together at 4, so we can write that up there, and at 4 o'clock, we'll be like, all right, this is what we have. Now let's bring this together. So we don't have, the deadline is 5.
No, we have to have it submitted by 4:45.
You have to submit it by 4:45. So I'm saying you need to take an hour.
I'm putting together
She has to start actually putting them together.
Yeah, I'm putting together the document that she's gonna take to make it feasible.
Lexter is actually working on the document right now.
Y'all can just hand me information as it comes.
Yeah, just send it via Google Docs, share with him via Google Docs, and you can see the document.
So what's
Yeah, everybody-
share the document?
Yes.
One question, what are you working on? What document are you working on?
I'm using a Google slideshow.
No, what is the actual document that you're creating?
Presentation.
You're making the presentation.
Mhm.
Okay.
And the last thing I was gonna say is, if everybody can make sure you put your email there, I can invite you to the Google community.
Okay.
And what I'm gonna do is keep the conversation going online while we're doing this. And I'm also gonna contribute as well.
So if you share that
That's
with
what I'm
them,
saying, we need
they
to
can actually add
it's
to
never gonna happen.
So
We're talking about the way, so we have to
Right.
break it out.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. Yeah, as soon as I
So
send
that's
y'all
what
email.
and we need the
Okay.
I can contribute to gmail.com. So what I'm doing
What do
is
you
I
think?
Like
that?
We don't need to water it down because
Impression.
the logo and all that. That's the email. That's the image of this. So it's
We're not. It's exchange. Let me. Yeah. Okay, everybody.
That's not hours, hours.
It's an hour. Yeah. Everybody, what we need to do now, we need to take the next hour. Hello, gentlemen. We need to stay, like, so that we can actually get, I wanted to see what happen. So we need to give ourselves like an hour to get the specifics. So you can start working on the UX stuff. And if we need to, everybody needs to work with each other, that's fine.
What we talking
We're
about
gonna
is,
start that.
what we talking about here is, I agree with you, and we're gonna add to it. At 3 o'clock, we're gonna have something to see.
Right, that's what I was gonna say.
So,
we have a marker?
we have some markers. So we're gonna work this out and actually. I'm doing UX opportunity, I see some.
Are you using that?
So we're talking now.
The document is added to the page.
Make a, right on the board.
And if I can just get everybody's attention just one more time.
Yes.
I'm about to, hopefully everybody wrote their email address down. I'm about to invite everybody to the Google document for the presentation.
You have to just edit inside there.
Everybody.
That way, we don't have to. Yes, you can.
Yes,
No, African, let me know.
That's how I do all my jobs.
No, this is what we're doing. We need the presentation part, which is what the non-technical can focus on, how to communicate the benefits. We also need an actual mock-up of what the actual. That's what people want to take. That's what we're going to do.
She's gonna do the UX mock-up,
That's
so
what
she's
I'm
gonna leverage inside already. Yeah, she's gonna leverage that.
Okay.
That's what I said, she's gonna leverage everything, yeah.
You got
So,
That's what we're We have until 3 o'clock.
But when you click on business.
but I just wanna make sure her mock-ups are actually, and it looks like what we want to look like, and then you guys do the creative side.
Yeah, we have until 3 p.m. So that's what we need to have something to show by 3 p.m.
Everybody.
And it's also we can come up with how we're gonna make it look, how we're gonna make it work.
What's your name? Mike, Nick. Is that open, can she utilize it?
Yeah.
What do you need?
Yeah, she knows what it looks like. What it looks like on the front end. And the UX person is just going back and forth.
So basically, what I was wondering if creating else would
Yeah.
I think we can, but I think it's. I think right now the way it's already, you have to. So you're already paying basically.
Right.
It's not
You don't have to talk about it.
So that's why you're saying that's not really like that.
Well, we wanna mention that, right? I think in the presentation, we should say basically, this is too.
I think that's fine.
Application.
Yeah.
I think we wanna have a future, we wanna plan for the.
Have a roadmap.
We wanted to spend, plan the roadmap.
So, before we, so you're saying right now,
And you just give it to real fast.
Well, I don't need to.
No, this is what he said.
Basically, you go into the admin panel, you go to the admin panel. So what happens in WordPress is that if you're a WordPress user that's not an admin, you're presented with a different left set of menu options. Basically, you have less menu options, but from a development standpoint, you can basically add like some custom links in here. So for example, you can use all these things on the left. If you were just like, let's say like we have users that are admins, get users in the business owner. So the business owner logs in, they might only see, right, they might.
So they're gonna look for their own dashboard. And that's how it's back to the analytical portion.
Right.
It's that data that's captured, it's gonna come back. Utilize that data for the things that you're pushing to people. Right.
But see, y'all missing the point. It's a lot of things, like everything that you're saying with the push notifications, it's in this particular thing.
Yeah, that's why I told you to look at it.
Yes, it has all of that stuff.
Everything that you guys.
He doesn't understand it, and I can't keep telling him how to do it, so y'all just reiterated everything that he said.
Oh, that's
So, there's a WordPress. So everything that you're saying is in there. It's just
Can I tell y'all something?
Yes.
Is that that's why I kept telling you guys, if you look at the AOBCC.us site,
Right.
and look at what it does,
Right.
that's everything that you guys said. Now what we got to figure out is how we bring more awareness to it. Google has we actually presented this platform at a Google event.
Okay.
And they were crazy. The thing about it is that we have not utilized this platform
You know what I'm saying? Part of the planning. Yeah, you talking about that.
Yeah, because I was looking at, I mean, you know, you said education, everything is on there.
So I'm trying to think of the virtual or like,
But what he was saying is that what he needs is the most that.
I mean, it should.
That's the missing component.
Right.
Once we put the form on, you can take everything. We got it.
Like, they already have.
That's right.
No, wait, we do that. We should have a child over this.
Let me see. For them to get everybody on here
Right, now we're trying to focus on what the issues though. Let's not really ask us to decide what the issue is, and also to come with a pitch to get that solved. Which is, I'm still trying to figure out what that is. Yeah, so that's what it is basically.
Because you don't have your business profile.
That's what it was like. Not all guys. That'd be great.
So I think
they're gonna have issues.
Yeah, that's their problem. Yeah, however you really value what we're trying to sell because they're essentially doing ventures way beyond.
Right. I think
We're just future benefits to we don't even care about that. We just care about how to communicate with them. That's what they're technical for. Yeah, we communicate. We're almost. I wouldn't necessarily agree with that because they're doing education. We have to be able to articulate with here. They're doing actual features stuff. Yeah, so that's what the tech are right there, right? So the tech are the page, well, okay, so you have to.
To get his representation. It's when they put those basically the screen looks like Groupon. Email address, and it takes you to the next screen where you're getting that data. Right. Okay. So they already, okay. So then after you sign in. I don't think you should go to like specifically for education. I'm thinking it's like what your business needs, what's your industry. Absolutely. And then from there, then you see like something like your needs or something.
Well, I think I understand. I'll just answer. Are you asking? Yes, if you click on this, you're going to define what
What
all
I'm
of these
trying to
options
figure out is how do we get to this? How do I get to that? What I know how to design, which is great.
So from Word, everybody's familiar with, like I said, I'm a WordPress developer. So from a WordPress, this is how WordPress works. So right, there are two different ways you can sign into WordPress. You can sign into WordPress with something as simple as an email. You get the email address, username, and password, and then you're able to log into your account. Or you can log in screen. After preferences, so let's just say at a high level, somebody comes to the AMECC site, right? And let's just say there's a link or something on the site called portal, just for the sake of explanation. Maybe that actually is portal that, so people can bookmark this at a certain point in the future. So there's a link on here that says, portal, login, whatever. Once they log in, they have two options. They get on the page. They can either sign in or register. Right? And if they sign in, that means they're already a member, which means they're then at this home screen dashboard, right? If they register, they're giving like Command said, a sign up page where you capture the key information you need. So I'm not sign off with your name. You also have check boxes, for example. So what are your pain points, what are your preferences, what are and then based on that, it generates a custom profile, and then provide you this page that presents basic information that you want to explain. Yeah, everybody. Yeah. So now everybody kind of sees. So based on that flow, now once you use WordPress, when WordPress works, once you're in WordPress and logged in, yeah, you're always going to have, for example, at the top, there's always going to be a page that's called, dashboard. Right. Your dashboard is just how WordPress works. On your dashboard or homepage, there should be relevant information. Maybe it's, like a news feed or something like that. Let's say you're logged in, maybe it shows you, your business logo, maybe it has information, you can edit this information if it's incorrect or something like that, it has your address, it has your phone, all that kind of stuff. Then maybe this is like, AM, CC News, just like I said, just, homepage that, maybe it's, there's Twitter. Just whatever, maybe just look at resources. Then there may be even another tab, or let's call that just at a very high level. Resources. We're not going to define what happens when you click that button. Maybe there's another tab called education. Like maybe this is kind of how it flows.
So we click here, we see what's going on over here.
Exactly.
So okay, I have the question I have is, okay, so
want a drink?
are having issues.
I get a water.
Do we want to vary it down? Like, I don't know if the picking up something like this, or based on, what they.
I'm about to send this to Chris, y'all.
Right. Exactly. So
how do we get them to find all of it?
Can't know that marketing over at Google.
And this is just my opinion. I think that this can be customized to an extent just to start. Like people come to the site, they just get used to coming to their home screen and then determining. So I don't think unless we can find some features. And then,
maybe this satisfies your question. When somebody says these are the things, the check boxes, right? Then maybe that's top first things they see.
Yeah, maybe these could be a check box. Right. I understand like check boxes. They could be what types of news are what I'm saying? What business are you in? And maybe that information is just be RSS stuff like it's automatically fed into.
I want to do some artwork today. We need wireframes or mock-ups that illustrate what it looks like when you're on this page. That's what we do. So the navigation is going to live over here. No, go ahead. The navigation is going to live over here, and then all that stuff, the content. I just need to start it. And so within the business landing page, I guess it's sort of like like WordPress, when you're building a website, there's all these
well, so for example, the business landing page, probably the easiest way to do it, because once again, a lot of these users are sophisticated, is to say they click on.
And maybe that's it. Maybe it's just a screenshot we take in WordPress that sort of like modular creating landing page there. Maybe I can just pop that in.
What? If a user maybe clicks on it.
I mean, if they already have that, because they have a business landing page already. So that's just the one they have.
Well, what if they need to create?
They have to have something to put information for